What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today with the second hero in my new series where we uncover all of the secrets of every single Transcendence hero. Last time we did SFX. If you haven't seen that yet, definitely recommend you check this out. We had this wonderful copy of SFX doing some damage there. Video is up on my channel of course, and I definitely recommend you check it out. I got some wonderful feedback there from you guys, so definitely appreciate that. And today we got the second hero, and it's my Scarlet Queen Hellora. Wonderful hero, I have to say. Very, very cool. Was my first Transcendence hero. I didn't go for SFX back at the day. People said, well, you can either go for SFX where you really get a damage dealer, or alternatively, well, you go for Scarlet Queen Hellora, get yourself some extra support. You have to keep in mind, Transcendence heroes back then at the release, they were a bit closer to the normal heroes, because we just didn't have all of that power creep yet that only really affects Transcendence heroes. Nowadays, I mean, you just go into train, you check out the treasure train bonus just for the Transcendence heroes, and if you see something like this, you already know. I mean, normal heroes can't really keep up with that. As sad as it is, the power levels are pretty clear nowadays. That wasn't really the case back then. So they were more of a normal hero there with a bit of special skills, and thus support-ish type of unit was still pretty much meta, or pretty much in line with the other heroes. If they had the power level they have today, well, you would have obviously gone for more of a damage dealer, I guess. But is still fairly interesting. So Scarlet Queen Hellora, what makes her special? Well, she's a support unit, and as such she needs a proper team. And today we want to check her out a little bit, so I thought we would go into Tower of the Brave, which I have to say it, I don't accept it. I don't know. I'm missing my little sealant button over here. It's a tragedy. I don't know. So we have SL40 Abyss. I am not too sure we can even clear this because we're looking at a support unit. I bumped her up to 240 million attack. And maybe before we get into this, a little bit of a look back at my last live stream, because some people were asking about this. We also got a 322 million Phantom Defier Elena. If you wonder how that happened, check out the live stream. I just want to give the updated attack here, because we upgraded the advanced Destiny Trail, and that is quite insane. So we're going to go into Abyss SL. And Abyss SL is one of the weirder ones, because for quite a long time we really lacked a proper damage dealer for this. SQH in all of her glory is more of a support unit than she's a damage dealer. She still can deal decent-ish damage, but I wouldn't really call her like a main focus damage dealer unit. So as such, we were lacking that a little bit. I mean, we got the Gaggy, we got like BQA, but it took until Williams until we really got a pure damage dealer unit. So quite a long time actually until that happened. And until then, the most meta way to clear this was just to take the SQH and try to get her going with a few Ignis in there, try to energy feed and try to somehow get her to deal enough damage to actually get through this SL, which isn't all too easy, well, we probably shouldn't do that. I just want to go for the Phoenix because it actually makes much sense here. But if we go for the Phoenix, I'm not sure they fix the damage numbers. Maybe we can check this out in the first one. And the thing that you really want to have is you want to have a damage dealer next to SQH. The way she really works is she designates every other hero on her team as her Queen Guard, and those heroes, they receive an all damage dealt buff right from the start of the game. So if you have another damage dealer there, you just initially give him an all damage dealt buff, which is absolutely glorious. Core wise, we also have a little bit of interesting stuff going on here. The effect that we have when else Queen's Guard take damage. So Queen's Guard, as I said, all the other heroes on the team are considered that. We restore them a little bit of HP, and we can increase crit, which was more valuable at the time that this core was released. Right now, I have to say, it synergizes with her, because she buffs crit damage that enemies receive, but on the other hand we already have quite enough crit on our own, so really adding more crit to that will bring us closer to 100% and render stuff like Balance Strike a little bit useless. So her core right now I wouldn't say is too great, so that is more of a weird one. We'll still use it for this video, but I don't necessarily appreciate it. So in SL, you can see with 240 million attack, we can still do some proper damage. Also, we have the Spectre Stars, so those debuffs that we have right there will still end up giving us a little bit of extra damage. Gagi doing some nice work. For CC, by the way, very interesting on Abyss SL. You have those ice time ups, you can see how they CC the enemy, and she dealt a decent bit of damage. So you can see how with enough stats on your SQH, it is possible to clear such stages even if you don't own Williams. And that is what we were using in the past. Like, you didn't have many options. If you wanted to clear Abyss SL, you start with an SQH, you had one Suicide Ignis to give her a little bit of CC immunity, and then you would go on and add another Ignis on top of that. And one thing maybe I just noticed they fixed that with the Phoenix, finally fixed the damage screen. That is very cool. I just realized that. It took some time to end up in my brain there, that this was apparently fixed. So that is very cool. That is something we definitely needed. So yeah, her crit damage is a thing, and then of course she is a support unit, and one main thing about her as a support unit is that she has an ability that is very, very crucial to many PvE teams, not only in Flame Shrine, where you find her in my team, and that is my current Flame Shrine team, and of course you see over here she is in there, but also in Star Expedition, which I sadly can't show you the team right now that I'm using. You will find her, and the thing that makes her great there is all this Abyssal Corruption. Every active skill of her inflicts one layer of Abyssal Corruption. That is a skill effect that's just put on the enemy. It is shown by a little bit of a purple-ish smoke at the feet of the enemy, and you can see deal 24% less crit damage and take 24% more crit damage. And it's very potent. It's a very potent damage multiplier that we can put on a PvE team. On top of that, we already heard, well, we get a percent all damage dealt buff, and we find that over here, it's a 24% all damage dealt buff. So you get this right on turn 0, essentially. Those heroes get the 24% all damage dealt buff. So you can see by just plugging in a Starlit Queen Allura into your team, you massively increase the damage, and also 8% all damage reduction, which is absolutely great. One thing that we haven't really talked about for right now, and that we maybe can check out, are counterattacks. Counterattacks are one major thing for her, and maybe we take a little bit of a break from SL at this very point and go into another fight with Lex, who was very happy to be in there. We will just put in our SQH and a few support units. So I hope he doesn't one-shot that, but that is going to be our team. And the thing that I wanted to show you is as soon as he hits that SQH, you will see that every single hero that is from the Queen's Guard with that little heart symbol is starting to counterattack. And this can deal a ton of damage. It's based on the stats of the heroes, of course, but with all those pings happening, and I mean, they only happen when they really hit the SQH, this can really hurt the enemy, and this can take off a ton of layers of Unbending Will as well, so this is not to be underestimated as an ability. And also a very nice combination with DGN, because when you have a DGN on your team, you can make use of those attack debuffs, and you can get a very, very generous amount of attack debuffs spread throughout the enemy team by just making use of those SQH pings. And you can see how this can sometimes even nearly take out enemies there. So this is absolutely insane ability. I will put it now on triple speed again because we saw the necessary things. She was stunned all the way. So everything that you saw in terms of damage from her or a Queen's Guard or abilities like the pings happened during the time she was stunned. So you can't block this with CC. The only CC that can block the Queen's Guard pings, and maybe this is something interesting as well, as soon as you shapeshift SQH and disable her passive ability, this will also block the pings from the Queen's Guard. So if you ever fight her in PvE, shapeshifting the SQH is the key to getting rid of those pings. So this is something that I wanted to show you guys. This is one of her major abilities, and this is an ability I very much so like for PvP. For PvE, a little bit less interesting, because I mean we can try it out right here, but the pings, while they certainly do a little bit of damage, we can see the HP of the PvE enemies is just so much higher there that it usually does not really matter too much. The attack debuff, on the other hand, can still be used. I mean, bringing the attack to 0 of the enemies, that is a strategy that we can go for. With the SQH pings alone, you will have a hard time achieving that. But if you add other heroes to that, maybe DGN, maybe some other attack debuffers, that can very well work and can be a quick way to deal with enemies. The damage that we have here is mostly that potent because we have this super high attack. That is something that I also want to mention. Her on her own at like a decent level will probably struggle within the next 1 or 2 levels in Sealand Abyss. And I don't even want to say that is a bad thing, because we have other Abyss heroes, of course, to show. I mean, while we are already giving a little bit of a feature here of Gegi, BQA, and Williams, we really want to give them their own video, even though Mr. Williams over here just started a very, very strong attempt in stealing this video for himself, I have to say, because he's a non-homeowner without a star soul doing very, very meaningful damage. And you can see, like, SQH here has every single advantage, and still you can see the difference to Williams. Williams has no star soul. Williams has 1 lower divine power. Williams isn't set up to do this. I think he has a demon bell equipped that is not even a proper damage artifact. Way less attack. I think we're not even going past 100 million on him, and still creeping on there, so getting closer and closer and closer, and you can see the performance difference there. We'll do 42 still in this video. I don't intend to clear it. As I said, we want to leave a little bit to the other heroes as well, which we try to get through by 2 a week was the plan. Some people asked about this. We want to make about 2 videos there a week and try to get to cover 2 heroes and show their abilities. One thing we also still have to talk about is a little bit of the Destiny skills, but we haven't really done yet, because their Destiny skills are something you don't really hear a lot of talk about. They fit her very well. I didn't like them. When I initially read through them, I was like, I kind of wish they had more impact, because as the perspective, they kind of switched. The first perspective that you have when such a new mechanic is introduced is that of a little bit of a scarcity of resources. So you go in there thinking, what can I get from my limited resources? And then you're searching for the most impactful abilities. If you have an abundance of resources later, that kind of perspective switches a little bit, and you appreciate abilities that just kind of work for the intended purpose of the hero. So if we go into that and check out the ability under that perspective, that we now have enough resources on this account, then this ability makes a whole lot more sense, despite not being that impactful. And I want to check out the Destiny 6 ability, because that is really what we are looking at. When Self has 12 layers of transition power, so this is one of the bigger ones. It won't trigger every single round. And we have consumes 12 layers, so this will only really trigger every second round under the assumption that we do an active skill every single round. Consumes 12 layers of them to increase the attack of allies with Queen Squad, so all other heroes, not SQH, by 10% for 2 rounds. It's not bad. A 10% increase is pretty decent. We restore their HP by 50% of their max HP, which is surprisingly good. Like, that is a ton of HP restoration. Is another topic in itself, but we can kind of take a little cut at it. I kind of noticed how healers, or main healers like Ferric and Vesa, struggle a little bit with healing the team nowadays, that the HP scales so high. And under this assumption, a 50% restoration of the max HP is probably one of the best heals we have in the game. Maybe only in competition with PDE, who's also a very strong healer, actually. Besides, increase the all damage dealt by 10%, another 10%, and have it for 2 rounds. So we don't really stack it, but we can kind of keep this up. And all damage reduction by 20%. All damage reduction is still a stat that is a little bit more rare. Unless you really go for a defensive artifact, all damage reduction is something that is a little bit harder to come by, or tougher to come by. So getting a 20% all damage reduction here is very, very powerful and very, very noticeable, actually. The nerfed version, or the standard version here, will actually only give us the 10% boost to the attack and restore the HP by 25%. So the things that I really like about this, the all damage dealt buff and the all damage reduction buff specifically, are only available at Destiny rank 6. Throughout the other skills, we don't really have anything too insane. Standard stuff here for the transition power gain. We have a 20% energy buff, which is quite cool. Effect of being healed, if you want that, makes your heroes a whole lot easier to be healed, and we can kind of get a lot of all damage reduction from her, which I don't really go for because we don't need that. Some debuffs here for speed, armor, and attack, and And then I equip damage for SL, but we can also reduce enemy crit damage, which is more rare actually as a debuff. And again, another damage reduction increase if we want to, and nothing too particular here. So it is not like we have super interesting skills on the other Nirvana. You're pretty free to do with that what you want. I kind of like the energy buff, and the crit damage debuff is also pretty cool. But in general, I kind of like that she has those, that she has a Destiny rank 6 that works out for her theme. Because she is the support unit, and she does that. She has the support. We already saw we have all damage dealt buffs, we have all damage reduction, we have pretty potent heals, we have a few pings from her passive skill, which are fairly powerful. We have heals through another passive skill that I didn't really mention yet, but at the end of every single round, and maybe we can keep an eye out for that on the next fight, you will see that a heal will appear. And that is an ability of her that heals her Queen's Guard. An interesting side note about this is that the wording on this was for a long time quite wrong. The wording indicated that the heal that she receives herself. So she heals herself for the amount of heroes from her Queen's Guard that are remaining on the battlefield. And the wording was in a way that the allies receive part of it. So that indicated that you could kind of buff the heal that she receives herself, so her effect of being healed, and thus thereby increasing the heal that the other heroes receive. Apparently, this wording was changed. That's no longer the case. They went for a more flat approach there, which is now shown by this little formula there. This triggered initially initially restores HP for all Queen's Guard by number of survived allies times 1.6 of max HP of the HP. That seems like a small heal, is actually fairly decent. So she has a good self HP restoration and a decent restoration for the rest of the team too. Basic attack, by the way, because we can just cover it, is fairly decent debuff for the enemy. Reduce crit by 25%. That's pretty powerful. And we have self-crit buff and self-crit damage buff, and we can upgrade it to target 4 enemies. Duration of crit and crit damage can be upgraded to 6 rounds, so as she can buff her crit and crit damage quite impactful, even though it is not really that relevant, to be honest. The crit debuff on the enemy is cool. I mean, if you get into that together with like DGN, you spread this around, you pretty quickly can absolutely demolish the crit on the enemy. And you can do so with a basic attack. Like, for example, if you hit the enemies here with a basic attack, you will hit every single enemy, because with the sublimation, it really hits 4 enemies. Yeah, like that is insane. Imagine we had Balance Strike, would have easily taken out the last unit as well. So, it is kind of impactful. I mean, it's also cool. I mean, we are buffing Williams, of course, with our abilities here as well. If we combine the two, really put her into a role as a supporter, which right now, I mean, we kind of made her do a lot of damage by buffing her attack a lot. You really don't. You really don't need to. Nothing that she really does needs a lot of attack. She can deal a lot more damage with more attack, obviously, but the scaling of that is not too great. If we compare the hundreds of thousands % of attack damage hits that a Williams can put out with what she does, hers was good when she was released. But that was years ago, ladies and gentlemen. Years ago. And with that, I have something. I hope this doesn't block my video when I do this. So I'm only going to show you a small clip of it, because this is quite unique. There is a hero trailer for SQH. I think we don't have that They kind of stopped that. That was like the first time when they released it, when they released SFX, and then SQH came around, and then DH Games did a hero trailer, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to show you a few scenes from that. You can absolutely check out this trailer later, and maybe get an eye out for that SQH, which is pretty cool. So the link for the trailer is down in the description if you want to check it out. It's on the official Idle Heroes YouTube channel. But that somehow, well, that is another thing, that YouTube channel barely gets any views. I don't know. Yeah. But it's pretty cool. I kind of remember those times. I thought this was a pretty cool thing to do. And then they really stopped it. I guess it's rather expensive. Oh, Williams has to carry now. Ah, we're losing. That is insane how they just one-shot that SQH. That is insane, ladies and gentlemen. Can we do a second attempt here? Absolutely monstrous. Maybe we want to switch out the core, honestly, because the core is quite bad. The core is really quite bad, and you don't even notice those chases. I think I didn't read this out, but it says when an enemy takes crit damage, Haldor pursues them and attacks them. You don't notice that. there's some. I don't think there's even an animation for that. So it is a horrible core. A horrible core. It is a core that you get to put Destiny transition on the heroes. So that is really all it's good for. And yeah, overall fairly horrible. Has quite insane stat increases that we have here. I mean, the Gagi I think even has a crown on there, so it's quite monstrous. It's really quite monstrous. So let's see SQH. Yeah, and that is really the point where you kind of already see it. Where it becomes tough to even get through with SQH, and where if we had like a little bit more power on that Williams, we would probably do so. So as a damage dealer alone, a little bit tough. Okay, so change the setup a little bit. Should probably now be able to do a little bit more damage. We show the Gagi core as well. Gagi core is also pretty cool. This is another topic. We'll check this out in the future. Gagi and BQA will definitely be some very interesting videos. Especially Gagi, I think will very much so interest a few people. He got. That is so mean that he got the taunt there. Nearly took care of the boss. That is sad, honestly. That is sad. We have to beat that, ladies and gentlemen, because I know that's possible. I know that's possible. If you didn't get the taunt there, that would have been absolutely possible. I mean, we didn't really optimize this team there. For Abyss SL, usually the question of back row, front row is also very important. And man, the damage is still pretty insane now. Come on, one more turn. Okay, we got the boss. Oh, that is so mean. Challenge times have been used up. Okay, I will optimize more. Okay, in that case, let's just try to do all of this a little bit more on the support area and try to put SQH to our use there in the front row in this fight. Got the heal on the Williams, which is pretty nice. SQH active still coming in. Williams. Pretty good damage, taking out a lot of units. Ooh, look at that. And that is with a non-homeowner Williams, by the way. So when you put that to the support use, that can really make a big difference. Getting like then a good Williams hit, taking a few hits at the beginning, healing the other units, supporting them. That is really more of a purpose. So with that, we really got through this. So I think that was a pretty good demonstration. We could go into Realmscape, but I don't really see the purpose. I was thinking about Flame Shrine, but if you want to see SQH and Flame Shrine, I got like 1,000 videos on my channel for you already. So is there something left that we have to talk about? Is there maybe we can talk about the skins? Which one do I use? We haven't really talked about the skins last time, I think, in the SFX video. So control immunity, HP attack is the one that I use. The other ones that we have are, for example, damage reduction, attack speed. Speed is of course pretty good for PvP. Damage reduction I don't really care too much about. And the third one we have crit damage, HP, speed. Crit damage is cool if you don't have the 2023 treasure, because then you have like a little bit of extra there. I have this though, so it's not really that interesting to me. All of the skins are pretty cool. I like none anymore. I'm especially not a fan of those Christmas themed skins. I went for the basic design. Basic design, absolutely gorgeous. Pretty great. One thing that we haven't talked about is also that she's a ranger. Most support units are mostly in the priest area, or maybe some mages around there. She's a ranger, which is pretty cool if you have like the hero token treasures, because rangers get some pretty unique boosts. If we check this out, so in my treasure train we have dodge rate 15.3. That is from a treasure in the hero token series, and that one, where is it? Hero token series, the chalice over here, dodge rate for ranger. And as the hero token series is one that I generally recommend, you have basic dodge rate on all of the rangers, so that is fairly cool actually for most game modes, and an interesting class for like support unit. Not necessarily the best to heal, that would be priest, because in priest you have all of those heal buffs, not only from the treasure train, but also from star spawns. For example, we have HP for forest heroes. There is the heal effect one. I have a red star, by the way, fun fact. Stat bonus for priest, so heal effect for priest. So she's not the best healer, even though she has some heal, but she's like a good overall unit, a unit that will work in general pretty well. Is she a must-have unit for your account? Yeah, actually is. Interesting enough, that is. For SFX, I said, like, if you want to make a fun account, want to try out SFX a little bit, that's cool. But SQH is really a hero that at the current point in time, and actually for a pretty long time, I think every single account that is a little bit more established should own. If you're still going on like a early game or mid game route where you really have to check which hero you should build and which hero you shouldn't, and some very smart person thought out all of the steps that you have to do, of course stick to that. But once you are a little bit more free and a little bit more at the point where you say, okay, which hero is interesting to me? Which hero do I want to build? SQH should be on your radar. You really want this all damage dealt boost. You really want her for Star Expedition. You really want her for Flame Shrine. She's a great addition for all the bosses. If you fight a Void boss in general, you put SQH on your team just because you have this absolutely instant 24% all damage dealt. And then you also get all damage reduction. And then once she does her 2 active skills, you get another bit of all damage reduction and all damage dealt and big potent heal and everything, and some debuffs, and you combine that with DGN, and all of that works pretty well together for your team. And at the current time, I don't think there is much better things for damage boosting that you can put on your team. A lot of times when we currently fight in something like Star Expedition or against other bosses, if she gets outperformed, is usually just because we have to fight a specific boss mechanic. A huge stack of all damage reduction, for example. She can't really deal with that, but other heroes maybe can. And of course, I mean, we have some damage multipliers from older times that are a little bit more potent. Something like Heartwatcher can be absolutely insane. We don't have those in general huge damage multipliers anymore. But she's like a well-rounded package, and that is something that I really like about her. Role that we used, I don't think I showed that. Skill damage, silence, immunity, giant claw, defier. Absolutely gorgeous role. Gorgeous copy overall as well. And yeah, so that is basically everything we had to say about this hero. I think we checked out everything. I didn't go over every single sublimation. Big fan of this one still for the heal. The counter attack reduction, we talked about this. Basic skills a little bit meh. And then you definitely want the extra Abyssal Corruption for the enemy to receive more crit damage, because that will really boost your damage. Overall, insane hero. And if you are still searching for a nice copy for her on the auction house, maybe saw one and want to buy it, then I definitely recommend you check out the link down in the description to the SG Hub Discord. There you will find the cheapest and best story gems, easy servers all the time. We try to give you the best story gems or the cheapest story gems as possible, any amount that you want, so definitely recommend you check it out and save a lot of money compared to the in-game prices. Other than that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.